Blood had dried black along Sofia Bennett's white blouse by the time two guards dragged her into the Moretti engagement gala. Music stopped. 200 guests turned from the crystal dance floor, and every face found the plus-size woman with torn stockings, one bare foot, and a silver tracking device clenched in her fist. At the far end of the ballroom, Adrian Moretti stood beneath an arch of winter roses beside the daughter of the family, whose alliance he was expected to seal at midnight. He did not look at the blood first. He looked at Sofia's hand. "Where are my drivers?" Sofia pulled free of the guards. "If you want to live, clear this room." A murmur traveled through the guests. Adrian descended the steps slowly, his black tuxedo immaculate, his expression stripped of everything she had once mistaken for private tenderness. 40 minutes earlier, Sofia had used his emergency authorization to reroute 6 armored vehicles from the federal courthouse to a warehouse district controlled by the Belandi family. 3 drivers had disappeared. The witness in the unmarked 7th car had vanished with them, and someone had delivered security footage of Sofia meeting Don Enzo Belandi the previous night. Victor Rinaldi, Adrian's communications chief, touched the ballroom screen. Grainy video filled it. Sofia appeared in a parking garage, passing Belandi a folded route map. "Play the audio," Adrian said. Her recorded voice crossed the silent ballroom. "The convoy will be moved before 4. You'll have the car you asked for." The clip ended before Belandi's reply. Sofia felt the room decide what she was. Adrian stopped an arm's length away. For 3 years, he had trusted her to know which bridge would choke at rush hour, which driver hit a tremor, and which harmless delivery van had circled his estate twice. He also knew she drank her coffee cold because she forgot it while working. Once, after a 14-hour drive through a blizzard, he had wrapped his coat around her shoulders and left his hand there a second too long. Now he spoke loudly enough for every allied family to hear. "Sofia Bennett sold my route to Belandi." The words landed harder than the guard's grip. "No," she said. "I moved your convoy because your original route was compromised." Victor raised her work tablet. With a deleted dispatch log, a stolen authorization code, and no warning sent through any approved channel. "Your channels are the problem." "Then name the person controlling them," Adrian demanded. Sofia looked toward the musician's entrance. Somewhere beyond that door was the 19-year-old dispatcher whose life had bought Sofia 20 minutes of silence. She did not know who held him or where. She only knew the photograph sent to her tablet had been taken inside a Moretti vehicle. "I can't," she said. Pain moved across Adrian's face, brief and almost private. Then control sealed over it. "You had until midnight to stand beside me and tell the truth," he said. "Instead, you walked into my enemy's garage." Sofia held out the tracking device. "This came off the missing witness car. The signal is still moving." Victor took it before Adrian could. "Or she brought it here to lead us into another trap." The woman beneath the winter roses stepped away from Adrian as phones began appearing in guests' hands. The alliance was already fracturing in whispers. Adrian's gaze returned to Sofia. "Effective now. You have no access to my routes, my properties, or my protection. Take her downstairs." The guards closed in. Sofia did not beg. "The convoy you think you saved is still following the original route." Every phone in the ballroom chimed at once. On the nearest screen, a live traffic feed showed Adrian's untouched decoy limousine turning through the Moretti estate gates. In the back seat sat Carlo Moretti, Adrian's father, who had been declared dead 12 years earlier. Adrian stared at the screen as if the dead had reached through it and closed a hand around his throat. "Lock the estate," he ordered. Steel barriers rose behind the limousine. Armed guards moved toward it from both sides, but Sofia saw what they did not. The car rolled too evenly for a driver approaching a barricade. No brake lights, no turn of the front wheels. Its left rear suspension sat lower than it had on the courthouse feed. "Don't touch that vehicle," she said. Victor still held the silver tracker. "You no longer give orders here. There's extra weight behind the rear axle. Either the trunk is loaded or the floor has been reinforced." Adrian's security captain looked to him. That fraction of hesitation revealed more than any confession. Even after Adrian had stripped away her authority, his men still waited to hear whether Sofia's judgment mattered. Adrian touched his earpiece. "Hold position. Scan the car before anyone opens it." Victor's mouth tightened. The woman beneath the roses, Camille D'Angelo, watched Adrian choose Sofia's warning over his own communications chief. She had been promised an engagement announcement before midnight, a union that would settle a shipping dispute between their families. Instead, every guest was staring at another woman. "Is that really your father?" Camille asked. Adrian did not answer. On screen, a guard extended a detection wand beneath the limousine. The device flashed red near the trunk. Men scattered. The ballroom erupted into frightened voices, but Sofia stayed fixed on the image. The rear passenger had Carlo's silver hair, Carlo's broken nose, and the same rigid left hand shown in every portrait inside the Moretti estate. He also wore Adrian's old charcoal coat. Sofia knew that coat. Adrian had given it to her during the blizzard 2 winters earlier, then refused to take it back. She kept it over her office chair, because the sleeves still carried the faint scent of cedar. It had disappeared from her locked office that afternoon. "They've been inside the house," she said. Adrian turned. "What?" "That coat was in my office at noon." Victor lifted her tablet. "The office she used to steal your authorization." Sofia ignored him. "Check the hem. I repaired a tear with blue thread." The security captain zoomed the gate camera. A narrow blue stitch showed above the passenger's knee. For the first time, Adrian looked at the blood on Sofia's blouse as though it might belong to someone he should have asked about. "Who hurt you?" The quiet question nearly broke her. Not because it was tender, but because it had come after his public sentence. "A driver who didn't want me removing this." She nodded toward the tracker in Victor's hand. "He won't be the last." Adrian reached for the device. Victor stepped back. "It could be armed." "Then why did you take it from her?" Silence opened between them. On the screen, the scan team pulled 2 steel cases from the trunk. They contained no explosives. Inside were driver uniforms, 3 blood-stained identification cards, and a paper route sheet bearing Sofia's handwritten revisions. Camille's father demanded that Adrian cancel the gala and surrender command of the Port Alliance until the threat was contained. Other family heads began agreeing. Midnight was less than 2 hours away. If Adrian lost the vote, the Moretti routes would pass under temporary joint control, including every convoy moving through the harbor. Sofia understood why the car had been sent here. It was not merely a threat. It was a weapon aimed at Adrian's authority. Victor held up the route sheet, her handwriting, her missing drivers, her plan. "It's a copy," Sofia said. "How can you tell from across the room?" "Because I mark evacuation roads in green. That one is black." Adrian knew she was right. 3 years earlier, after a warehouse fire trapped 4 guards, Sofia had changed every emergency route by hand. Green meant a road wide enough for an ambulance. Black meant cargo only. Adrian had signed the rule himself. He looked from the sheet to Sofia, doubt fighting fury. Then the limousine's rear door unlocked. Carlo Moretti lifted his head and looked directly into the gate camera. "Adrian," he said through the car's speaker, "the woman beside you buried me once. If you let her leave tonight, she'll finish the job." The guards seized Sofia before Adrian could speak. The guards forced Sofia's wrists behind her. "Wait," Adrian said. They stopped, but he did not release her. Beyond the ballroom windows, the limousine remained sealed between the steel barriers. Carlo sat motionless in the back seat while the scan team searched for a safe way inside. Adrian stepped close enough that Sofia could see the small scar beside his mouth, the one he touched whenever he feared losing control. "My father died 12 years ago. You joined us 3 years ago. Why would he accuse you?" "Because whoever put him in that car needs you angry before you start counting." "Counting what?" "The routes that changed before I touched them." Victor moved between them. "She is buying time." Adrian's gaze stayed on Sofia. "Take her to the map room. No phones, no network access. I want every step she took today on paper." That order gave her one narrow chance. 5 hours earlier, Sofia had been alone in the basement dispatch office, building the courthouse convoy around a scheduled bridge inspection. Route planning was not drawing colored lines on a screen. It was knowing how long an armored sedan needed to clear a wet intersection, which hospitals accepted gunshot patients without questions, and how quickly one stalled truck could turn protection into a cage. The bridge closure looked ordinary until Sofia compared it with the city notice. The dispatch system showed the westbound lanes closing at 3:40. The public order began at 4:30. She called the city traffic desk from a recorded office line and asked whether the schedule had changed. It had not. Sofia marked the mismatch on a paper map, then tested an innocent explanation. Software delays happened. Clerks entered times incorrectly. She refreshed the city feed and checked the previous night's system backup. The false time had appeared only inside the Moretti network. At 3:40, Adrian's original convoy would have been redirected beneath the Mercer overpass, where concrete walls blocked escape on both sides. Sofia reached for the secure handset that connected directly to his car. Before she could dial, 19-year-old dispatcher Eli Mercer hurried into the office carrying 2 coffees. "Victor wants all convoy calls routed through communications," he said. "Says the courthouse witness changed the threat level." Eli placed Adrian's coffee on the right side of Sofia's desk without asking. He had learned the habit from watching her set it there every morning so Adrian could collect the route card without interrupting her work. "Did Victor send that in writing?" "He used your approval." Sofia opened the authorization record. Her name appeared beneath the order, but the timestamp read 3:12. At 3:12, she had been in the garage inspecting tire replacements with 6 mechanics. She checked the badge log. Her credential had entered the communications suite at the same minute it was recorded entering the garage 11 miles away. One badge could be cloned. 2 false systems meant someone with broader access was shaping both the route and the record that would explain it later. Sofia wrote a warning on the back of Adrian's route card. "Mercer Overpass compromised. Trust only the green roads." She handed it to Eli. "Put this in his hand. No one else." Eli nodded and left through the service corridor. 3 minutes later, Sofia received a photograph on her tablet. Eli sat inside a Moretti transport van with blood running from his nose. A gun rested against his ribs. The message beneath it contained no demand, only a live image from Adrian's original route and a countdown ending at 3:40. Sofia tried Adrian's private number from her personal phone. Victor answered. "Don Moretti is preparing for tonight," he said. "All operational concerns come through me." She ended the call without speaking. If Victor was innocent, naming the altered route would expose nothing he could not verify. If he was involved, it would tell him exactly how much she knew. Either way, Adrian remained surrounded by a network she could no longer trust. Sofia pulled the paper map from her desk and went to the garage. Her emergency authority allowed her to redirect vehicles during an active route failure, but only for 15 minutes before Adrian had to confirm the change. She could save the convoy or preserve her clean record. There was no time to do both. As she reached for the dispatch microphone, a hand closed around her shoulder. The driver behind her wore a Moretti uniform, but his boots were dusted white with concrete from the Mercer overpass. "You should have ignored the clock," he said. Sofia drove her elbow backward, but the false driver caught her arm and shoved her against the dispatch console. A utility blade flashed near her ribs. She slammed her palm onto the garage fire control. Metal shutters dropped between the vehicle bays. The man turned toward the noise, and Sofia drove her heel into the emergency brake release beneath the console. An armored sedan rolled off its service blocks. He jumped aside before it crushed him, giving Sofia enough room to duck beneath the descending shutter. The blade caught her shoulder. Pain tore through her blouse, but she reached the opposite bay and hit the manual lock. The attacker was trapped behind steel for perhaps 2 minutes. It was all she had. Sofia grabbed the dispatch microphone. "All convoy units. Emergency route failure. Green roads only. Split at Franklin. Units 1 through 3 take the river warehouses. Units 4 through 6 continue east." Her authority opened a 15-minute window. After that, Adrian or Victor could reverse the command. The courthouse witness rode in the 7th, unmarked car. Lucia Belandi had spent 6 months documenting how someone inside the Moretti organization was selling protected harbor routes. Her testimony could destroy the port alliance and expose the person hunting Adrian. It also made her a target to both families. The previous night, Sofia had met Lucia's uncle, Don Enzo Belandi, in the parking garage. "The convoy will be moved before 4, Sofia had told him. "You'll have the car you asked for." Belandi had answered, "I asked for my niece alive. What happens to Moretti is his problem." That sentence was missing from the recording shown at the gala. Now Sofia called the disposable number Belandi had given her. "Take the witness car at Pier 9, she said. "Do not approach the convoy, do not fire. Get Lucia out and keep her alive." "And Adrian?" "I'm moving him away from the overpass." Belandi laughed once. "You're risking your life for a man announcing his engagement tonight." Sofia looked through the glass at the trapped attacker striking the shutter controls. "This isn't about what he owes me." She ended the call and ran. By the time Sofia reached the garage exit, the attacker had escaped through the maintenance corridor. A Moretti driver lunged from behind a van. She tore the silver tracker from his vest during the struggle, but he struck her mouth and threw her into a stack of tire rims. She escaped only when a mechanic entered the far bay and shouted. That was how she arrived at the gala bleeding, carrying the tracker, and unable to account for 3 drivers whose cars had followed the river route. In the present, the map room doors opened. Adrian entered with Victor and Carlo, who was supported by 2 guards. He was thinner than his portraits and unsteady on his left leg, but no one could mistake him. Sofia remained cuffed beside the map table. Carlo studied her face. "You look like your mother." Sofia went still. Her mother had died when Sofia was 9. No Moretti had ever known her. "You have the wrong woman," Sofia said. Carlo placed an old route card on the table. It carried Sofia's last name and a green line leading to the bridge where his car had exploded 12 years earlier. "Your mother planned the road that buried me," he said. "You came here to finish her work." Adrian looked at Sofia. She saw the moment his fear found a shape it could believe. His father had taught him that blood remembered every debt. Sofia's loyalty, her private knowledge of his habits, even the coat over her chair could now be recast as patient revenge. Victor added the copied badge logs, the edited recording, and Sofia's unauthorized order to the table. Then her personal phone chimed inside an evidence bag. A message from Belandi appeared on the screen. "We have the witness. Our deal is complete. I used Belandi to pull Lucia out before your compromised convoy delivered her to an ambush," Sofia said. "Check the full recording. The original file is gone," Victor replied. "Of course it is." Adrian's face hardened. "Did you give Belandi the car?" "Yes." "Did you move my convoy into his territory?" "Yes, because your own network was guiding you into a kill zone. And you cannot tell me who inside my house took the dispatcher." Sofia thought of Eli, with the gun against his ribs. Not without getting him killed. Adrian removed the silver route key from around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin, and for one terrible second neither of them moved. "You trusted my enemy more than you trusted me," he said. "I trusted the man you were before tonight." He flinched, then handed the key to Victor. "Move her to the harbor-safe house," Adrian ordered. "She leaves my territory before midnight." 20 minutes later, Sofia sat alone in the rear of a guarded transport van. As it entered the river tunnel, the driver ignored the green evacuation turn and took the black cargo road. Sofia understood too late that Victor had chosen the route. The transport van slowed inside the river tunnel. Sofia twisted toward the narrow rear window. The green evacuation turn disappeared behind them. Ahead, the black cargo road descended toward an unfinished freight chamber where cameras had never been installed. "This isn't the harbor safe house," she said. "Neither," guard answered. The driver killed the interior light. A second vehicle blocked the road ahead, its headlights aimed directly at the windshield. Sofia hooked her cuff chain beneath the steel bench as the van accelerated. The collision threw both guards forward. Metal folded, glass burst inward. Sofia's wounded shoulder struck the wall, and white pain erased the tunnel for several seconds. When she could see again, The rear doors were opening. One of the men outside raised a pistol. The last thing Sofia heard was a gunshot and water roaring somewhere beneath the road. At the Moretti estate, midnight passed without an engagement announcement. Camille's father called for the emergency vote. With 3 drivers missing, a federal witness gone, Carlo Moretti returned from the dead, and Sofia publicly accused of treason, the Allied families suspended Adrian's control over the harbor routes. Victor received temporary authority because communications and security now answered to him. Adrian surrendered the seal without argument. He had spent his life believing control could prevent betrayal. Now the cost of questioning Sofia too late was losing both. At 12:17, the harbor safehouse reported that her transport had never arrived. Victor blamed Belandi. Adrian went to Sofia's basement office. Her cold coffee remained beside the dispatch screen. His cup waited on the right side of her desk, untouched. Beneath it lay a blank space where the route card Eli had carried should have been. Sofia never left Adrian without a written route. Even during emergencies, she recorded the change on paper because software could be altered. If she had planned to betray him, leaving no original record made no sense. It protected her from nothing. Adrian opened the cabinet containing her archived maps. Every evacuation road was green. Every cargo road was black. The sheet pulled from Carlo's limousine reversed those colors. Victor had dismissed that as a trick. Adrian now remembered Sofia teaching a new driver the system months earlier. She had refused to change it even when he complained that handwritten maps looked old-fashioned. Paper doesn't obey whoever owns the server, she had told him. The memory hurt because he had smiled at her when she said it. Adrian summoned the garage mechanics. 6 confirmed that Sofia had inspected tires with them at 3:12. He then obtained a printed copy of the badge log from the building custodian, not from communications. Sofia's credential had opened the garage and Victor's suite at the same minute. She could not have been in both places. Someone had cloned her access before she moved the convoy. Adrian carried the log to the map room, where Victor stood beside Carlo and the surrendered harbor seal. Belandi's witness car was spotted heading toward Dry Dock 6, Adrian said. It was a lie. He had given 3 different locations to 3 people. Camille received the ferry terminal. The security captain received Pier 4. Victor alone heard Dry Dock 6. Victor reached for his phone, then stopped. I'll deploy a team. No, we wait. 7 minutes later, a dock camera showed 4 armed men entering Dry Dock 6 through a maintenance gate. They wore no Moretti markings, but one carried a communications radio issued from Victor's office. Victor watched the footage without blinking. Equipment gets stolen. So do authorization codes. Carlo struck the table with his cane. You are defending the daughter of the woman who tried to kill me. Adrian faced the father he had mourned for 12 years. Then tell me where you have been. Carlo's anger faltered. Victor answered for him. There will be time after the harbor is secure. That was the final fracture. Victor knew when to silence Carlo. He knew Sofia's tracker might be dangerous before anyone examined it. And he had accepted temporary command within minutes of the vote, as though he had prepared for it. Adrian took back his family pistol, but Victor closed his hand around the harbor seal. The council suspended you, Victor said. Your orders no longer extend to the port. Adrian had lost the authority to search half his own territory. He turned to his security captain. The transport route. Now. The captain checked the paper vehicle ledger. Victor's office had changed the destination from the harbor safehouse to the black cargo road beneath the river. Adrian was moving before the man finished speaking. They reached the freight chamber 12 minutes later. The transport van burned beside the concrete wall. 2 bodies lay inside. Neither was Sofia. Her blood marked the open rear door, crossed the roadway, and ended beside a flood channel dropping into darkness. On the railing, tied with blue thread torn from Adrian's old coat, Sofia had left a green strip of fabric pointing downstream. Adrian followed the green strip into the flood channel. The slope dropped beneath the chamber, slick with runoff. His security captain, Marcus Vale, tested the railing. There's blood on the lower ladder. Adrian climbed down first. The channel narrowed into a low service tunnel. Every 30 feet, Sofia had tied another green strip around a pipe. She had torn her blouse apart to mark a route only someone who knew her system would understand. After 200 yards, Adrian found a bent handcuff chain caught beneath a maintenance grate. Beyond it, the tunnel opened into an abandoned pump room. Sofia sat against the wall with a rusted wrench across her knees. Her face was pale, blood darkened her shoulder, and one ankle had swollen above her missing shoe. When Adrian stepped toward her, she lifted the wrench. "Don't." He stopped. Marcus moved to check the second entrance, while Adrian lowered his pistol and placed it on the floor between them. "You control the room," he said. Sofia stared at him, breathing hard. The van collision had bent the bolt, securing her cuff chain to the bench. When the rear doors opened, one of the injured guards had thrown himself at the gunman. The shot missed Sofia and ruptured the fire suppression pipe. She had pulled the loose chain free, rolled beneath the roadway barrier, and dropped into the flood channel while the attackers fought through steam and water. The fall had injured her ankle. She had still crawled downstream because every upstream exit returned to Victor-controlled territory. Adrian removed his jacket and slid it across the floor rather than placing it around her himself. "The blue thread brought me here. You took the route key." "I did. You called me a traitor in front of every person whose protection depended on my name." He did not defend himself. "Yes." Sofia wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, but the gesture offered warmth, not forgiveness. Marcus returned. 2 vehicles entered the freight chamber. At least 6 men. "They'll find the channel." Adrian looked to Sofia. "Can you walk?" "Not fast." "Tell us the route." It was the first order he had turned into a request. Sofia used the wrench to point at faded maintenance markings on the wall. "The east tunnel reaches an old pumping dock. It's narrow enough that they'll have to follow on foot, but the outer gate opens from the water side only." Marcus understood the problem. "We'll be trapped." "Not if Belandi still has Lucia." Adrian's expression tightened at the rival name, but he took Marcus's radio and gave a plain instruction. "Call Enzo Belandi. Tell him Sofia is alive and ask whether he wants his niece to stay that way." Marcus moved down the tunnel until the radio found a signal. Adrian remained outside Sofia's reach. "I checked the badge log. You were in the garage when your credential entered Victor's suite. I gave him a false location, and his men attacked it 7 minutes later. So now you believe me?" "I believe I made it easier for him to kill you." That answer reached her, where an excuse would have failed. Sofia unfolded the map in her mind. Victor had altered one bridge closure, but the convoy attack had required control of dispatch, drivers, communications, and the council response. Carlo's return had not been intended to frighten Adrian. It had been timed to make him look unstable before the emergency vote. "Victor needed the harbor seal," she said. "The ambush was supposed to kill you and lose Lucia. If you survived, he could use the missing witness and my reroute to suspend you." Carlo gave the council a Moretti they recognized, while Victor took operational control. "My father is working with him. Or Victor has something Carlo needs. Either way, your father knew my mother's name before he met me." Footsteps echoed from the flood channel. Marcus returned. Belandi agreed. "His river launch is 6 minutes from the pumping dock." "We need 8, Sofia said. Adrian retrieved his pistol. "Then we make them spend 2. He helped Sofia stand only after she nodded. She could bear little weight on her injured ankle. He offered his arm, and she used it without mistaking necessity for reconciliation. They entered the east tunnel as the first flashlight appeared behind them. Marcus locked a maintenance gate, but gunfire tore through its corroded hinges. At the pumping dock, Sofia found the outer gate chained from the riverside. Belandi's launch had not arrived. Adrian positioned himself behind a concrete pillar. "How long?" 3 minutes. They had less than 1. Sofia studied the old pump controls. She knew routes, not machinery. "Marcus, can the overflow system still move water?" He opened the panel and traced the corroded lines. 1 discharge cycle, maybe. "That's enough. Open the lower flood valve when they reach the red stripe." Adrian did not question her. He gave Marcus control of the timing and drew the attackers forward with 2 measured shots. The first men crossed the painted stripe. Marcus pulled the lever. River water exploded through the side channel, knocking the attackers off their feet and pinning the broken gate against the tunnel wall. The surge bought exactly the time Sofia had calculated. An engine sounded beyond the outer gate. Belandi's launch struck the chain with a reinforced bow and snapped it. Adrian lifted Sofia toward the deck. She caught the rail, then looked back at him. "Lucia comes with us," she said. "You don't separate me from the witness, and you don't control what I tell her." Gunfire sparked against the dock. Adrian climbed aboard after Marcus and met Sofia's eyes. "Your terms," he said. The launch pulled into the Black River as Victor's men reached the water. Lucia Belandi waited inside the launch cabin with a doctor and a canvas document case chained to her wrist. She was 28, dark-haired, and furious enough to ignore the blood on her own collar. While the doctor cleaned Sofia's shoulder, Lucia placed the case on the table. "Victor has been selling protected harbor routes for 4 years," she said. "Not to Belandi, to a freight company owned through 3 fronts." She opened the case and removed the original customs ledger. The final ownership page named the beneficiary, Charles Moreno. Adrian recognized his father's childhood alias. Carlo had not returned to reclaim a family. He had returned to reclaim a business. Lucia explained that Victor planned to use his temporary authority at the morning ratification to award Northline Freight exclusive control of every emergency harbor route. Once the council stamped the contract, he could bury years of route sales inside a legal monopoly. Carlo would receive ownership. Victor would control operations. "The council meets at 9, Adrian said. "And if we stop it?" Marcus asked. "The temporary charter remains active for 30 days, Lucia replied. "Victor keeps the seal and destroys whatever records are left." Sofia's ankle had been wrapped, and 8 stitches closed the cut in her shoulder. The doctor ordered her not to stand. She pulled the map table closer instead. "Then the vote happens." Adrian looked at her. "You want to walk into the same room where I condemned you. I want Victor to commit himself in front of the people he needs to fool." The customs ledger connected Victor and Carlo to the route sales, but Victor could claim the entries were Lucia's work or that Carlo had acted without him. The copied badge log proved Sofia had been framed, yet it did not prove who created the clone. They still needed Victor to use his new authority in service of the conspiracy. Sofia drew the council lockdown routes on paper. During ratification, only vehicles listed by the temporary harbor commander could pass the inner gates. Any change required a written order stamped with the harbor seal. Victor could send a subordinate, but he could not delegate the seal itself until the council confirmed his appointment. "We tell him Lucia is arriving in the D'Angelo flower truck," Sofia said. "If he believes the ledger is with her, he has to redirect that truck before it reaches the ballroom. He could have his men attack it outside the estate," Enzo Belandi said. "Not during lockdown. The outer roads will be closed by city traffic officers because 6 Mafia families are attending. His men can't reach the truck unless Victor opens Gate 7 and places it on the cargo road." Marcus understood. "The sealed order becomes the record. Only if it survives," Lucia said. Sofia looked at Adrian. "Camille can preserve it." He hesitated. He had humiliated Camille as surely as he had wounded Sofia, though in a different way. He had left her beneath the roses while his dead father arrived, and his real loyalties became visible to everyone. "She may never answer me again." "Then don't ask her to help you," Sofia said. "Tell her Victor is using her family's alliance to steal their routes. Let her choose." Adrian made the call with everyone listening. He offered Camille no apology designed to win cooperation and no promise of marriage. He gave her the facts, including his false accusation against Sofia. Camille was silent for several seconds. "My father thinks Victor restored order," she said. "Victor created the disorder." "And Sofia?" Adrian looked across the cabin. "She saved my life. I punished her for it." Sofia felt no triumph. The admission was private, late, and painfully small beside what he had done, but it was the first time he had described the harm without hiding behind the evidence. Camille agreed to keep the council's carbon order book in her custody. If Victor redirected the flower truck, she would carry the retained page into the ballroom herself. Marcus prepared the human backup. 2 loyal mechanics would park a disabled cargo hauler across Gate 7 after the false truck entered. Even if Victor cut the cameras or changed the electronic signs, the truck could not disappear down the black road. The mechanics had worked the gate for years and needed no access from communications. Sofia then set one condition. You don't pretend to betray me again. Not for the plan. Not for the room. Adrian answered immediately. I won't. And when Victor challenges the ledger, I speak first. You control the proof. Their eyes held across the table. Cooperation did not erase what stood between them, but for the first time Adrian had placed authority in her hands without keeping a hidden claim on it. Enzo gave the false route to a harbor clerk, who had quietly forwarded Belandi schedules to Victor for months. The message said Lucia and the original ledger would enter Gate 7 at 8:40 inside the D'Angelo flower truck. They expected Victor to verify the route before acting. Instead, Camille called 6 minutes later. Victor moved the ratification to 7:30, she said. He has Carlo in the ballroom and the contract on the table. Sofia checked the clock. They had 38 minutes to reach an estate surrounded by Victor's men. The Belandi launch reached the Moretti South boathouse with 24 minutes remaining. Camille had sent Marcus the service code used by the gala musicians. The code would open one door, once. After that, Victor's lockdown system would flag it. Sofia wore Adrian's jacket over her bandaged blouse and used a folding crutch from the boat's medical cabinet. Each step sent pain through her ankle, but the injury made disguise pointless. She would enter the ballroom as the woman Victor believed dead. Adrian checked the pistol beneath his coat. Leave it, Sofia said. Victor has armed men inside. And he needs the council to believe you're an unstable son trying to steal power from your returned father. Walk through the front door carrying a gun, and you prove his case. Adrian removed the weapon and handed it to Marcus. What do you need me to do? Make them look at you while Lucia and I reach Camille. He accepted the lesser role without argument. Adrian entered the estate through the main doors at 7:19. Every guard saw his empty hands. Victor could not quietly remove him without revealing fear, so he allowed Adrian into the ballroom and ordered 4 men to surround him. The winter roses still framed the council table. Carlo sat at its head. Victor stood beside him with the harbor seal and the North Line contract laid open before 6 family representatives. You are suspended, Victor said. Then you have nothing to fear from me watching. Carlo leaned on his cane. You always mistook defiance for strength. Adrian looked at the father whose empty grave had shaped half his life. And you mistook abandonment for sacrifice. While the room turned toward them, Camille opened the musician's door. Sofia entered with Lucia behind a rolling harp case that concealed the customs ledger. Camille's eyes moved over Sofia's bruised face and bandaged shoulder. He told the council you died escaping Belandi custody. He'll have to revise that. Camille had secured the carbon order book in a locked cabinet beside the council table. Victor still possessed the seal, but any vehicle change he stamped would leave a retained copy under her control. At 7:24, the false D'Angelo flower truck approached Gate 7. A guard delivered Victor the route request. He read it once, then looked toward Camille's empty chair. Victor understood that someone had leaked the new ratification time. He also understood that the truck might be bait. But if Lucia's ledger was inside and reached the council, the North Line contract would die before it was signed. He chose the risk he could control. Victor wrote a new destination on the order. Black Cargo Road, Warehouse 12. He pressed the harbor seal into the paper and sent the original back to the gate. Then he crossed the ballroom, opened Camille's cabinet with an emergency commander's key, and removed the carbon book. When Camille stepped from the service corridor, Victor was waiting. Did you think I wouldn't notice you guarding paper? He asked. He tore out the retained page and held it over a candle. The order curled into flame. Camille's father rose in outrage, but Victor placed the harbor seal on the table. Temporary authority permits me to destroy compromised route records during an active threat. It was a plausible use of a real rule. The council disliked it, but no one stopped him. Victor then ordered every service door locked. Sofia and Lucia were trapped behind the musician's curtain. At Gate 7, Victor's men redirected the flour truck toward Warehouse 12. The two mechanics moved their disabled cargo hauler across the road as planned, but armed harbor guards pulled them from the cab. The truck disappeared beyond the camera line. Marcus's radio went silent. The backup had failed. Inside the ballroom, Carlo called for the final vote. Sofia could hear the representatives approving Northline one by one. 4 votes, then 5. The contract required one final witness signature from Camille's family because D'Angelo's ships controlled the eastern docks. Camille's father reached for the pen. Sofia pushed aside the curtain. Every voice stopped. Victor's surprise lasted less than a second. "The traitor returns with Belandi's missing witness," he said. "How convenient." Lucia placed the customs ledger on the council table. "This records 4 years of roots sold by you and Carlo Moretti." Victor did not touch it. A ledger kept by a Belandi employee, delivered by a woman who admitted giving Belandi a protected convoy. "You could have written every page last night." It was the answer Sofia had expected, and the room found it believable. Carlo confirmed that Charles Moreno was his alias, but claimed Victor had never known who owned Northline. He said Sofia's mother had tried to expose him 12 years earlier, forcing him underground while Victor believed him dead. The ledger implicated Carlo. Without the sealed route order, it did not yet trap Victor. Victor ordered guards to take Lucia and Sofia. Adrian stepped between them. 4 weapons rose. "Move," Victor told him, "or the council will watch you start a war over the woman who betrayed you." Adrian did not look back at Sofia. He kept the promise he had made on the launch. "She did not betray me," he said. "I betrayed her." The admission shook the room, but it did not stop the guards. They forced Adrian to his knees and took Lucia's ledger. Victor placed the Northline contract before Camille's father again. "Sign." Camille's father lowered the pen. Sofia's borrowed phone vibrated inside Adrian's jacket. One message had arrived from Marcus before his radio went dark. Green. The mechanics had lost the truck, but they had secured the original sealed order. Sofia did not announce the message. She let Camille's father hold the pen over the Northline contract, while Victor believed the last surviving route order had burned. "Before you sign," Sofia said, "ask Victor why he sent an empty flour truck to Warehouse 12. Victor's gaze sharpened. It carried a security threat. "What threat?" "You arranged the vehicle." "No." Enzo Belandi told one harbor clerk that Lucia and her ledger would be inside it. That message was false, and it was never entered into the council system. The representatives turned toward Victor. Sofia continued, "You acted on information obtained through the same private channel that has been feeding you Belandi routes for years. Then you sent the truck down a black cargo road instead of bringing it here to be searched before witnesses." Victor recovered quickly. "I redirected a suspected enemy vehicle away from this room. That proves judgment, not conspiracy." It was a credible answer. Several council members nodded. "Then show them your order," Sofia said. Victor gestured toward the ashes beside the candle. "Destroyed, under emergency authority." That was the carbon copy. The ballroom doors opened. Marcus entered with the 2 mechanics from Gate 7. One mechanic carried the original route order inside a clear tool sleeve, protected from grease and rain. Victor's handwriting crossed the page. The harbor seal had bitten deeply into the paper beneath the words Times Black Cargo Road, Warehouse 12. Behind them walked Eli Mercer. His face was swollen, and one arm rested in a sling improvised from a mechanic's jacket. He had been found locked inside the warehouse office after Victor's men abandoned the empty flour truck and attempted to leave through the blocked gate. Victor pointed at him. "A frightened boy, rescued by Adrian's loyalists, is not proof. He isn't here to identify your handwriting," Sofia said. She asked Eli who had ordered him to take Adrian's calls through communications. Victor did. "Who gave the kidnappers my route card?" Eli looked directly at Victor. "He did. I delivered it to his office because he told me Adrian had moved to the West Hall." Victor read the warning on the back. "Then his driver took me through the service garage." That completed the simple truth the room could follow. The customs ledger showed that Carlo's company profited from stolen routes. Victor's sealed order proved he tried to hide the vehicle he believed carried that ledger. Eli confirmed Victor had intercepted Sofia's warning before the convoy moved. Victor made one final attempt. Sofia still gave Belandi the witness car. She still moved Moretti vehicles into enemy territory. "Yes," Sofia said, "because you had already compromised the original route and taken the dispatcher who carried my warning. I used the only road you did not control." Lucia stepped beside her. "That decision kept me alive." Adrian remained on his knees between the guards. He did not seize the moment from Sofia or command the room to believe her. Sofia faced the council members who had watched him brand her a traitor. "I moved his convoy. I broke protocol, and I accept that the emergency order must be reviewed. But I did not sell a route. I redirected 6 cars away from an ambush and removed a witness from a network Victor controlled." Camille took the pen from her father and snapped it in half. "There will be no D'Angelo signature. Without that signature, the North Line contract could not be ratified." Victor's temporary authority remained only long enough for the council to revoke it. Carlo rose with his cane and moved toward the musicians' exit. It was the escape route Victor had prepared for both of them. The door did not open. Camille's one-use code had sealed it after Sofia entered. Victor grabbed the customs ledger and the harbor seal, intending to reach the South Boathouse instead. Every route he might use had been planned by Sofia. "The dock launch is gone," she told him. "The east tunnel is flooded. Gate 7 is blocked. And your own lockdown closed the main road." Victor stopped. Marcus's men took the ledger, without a struggle. The council guards, no longer protected by Victor's authority, lowered their weapons and detained him beside Carlo. Camille retrieved the harbor seal. From Victor's pocket, she also removed Sofia's silver route key. She offered it to Sofia. Sofia closed her fingers around the key, but did not put it around her neck. Adrian stood only after the guards released him. Before the entire council, he faced Sofia rather than Victor. "You warned me, you saved my convoy, and I used my power to turn your sacrifice into shame." Sofia met his eyes. "The truth clears my name," she said. "What you do next will decide yours." 1 week later, the winter roses were gone. The same council members returned to the Moretti ballroom, this time without music, engagement gifts, or armed men behind Sofia's chair. Her ankle remained braced, and her shoulder would need months of therapy. She entered on a crutch with Camille on one side and Lucia on the other. Victor and Carlo were no longer in Moretti custody. Lucia had placed the customs ledger and sealed route order into the hands of the federal team, protecting her testimony. The route sale accounts were frozen pending prosecution. Northline's contract had been declared void, and every family that had voted for it faced an independent audit. Adrian stood where he had branded Sofia a traitor. He read the council's corrected finding aloud. Sofia Bennett had acted under emergency authority after the Moretti network was compromised. Her reroute prevented the Mercer overpass ambush, preserved the life of a protected witness, and exposed the theft of the harbor routes. Then Adrian set the paper down. "I had evidence that deserved investigation," he said. "I did not have the truth. I used my power to punish her before I earned it, stripped away her protection, and sent her into the hands of the men trying to kill her. That failure was mine." He surrendered permanent control of convoy operations to a council supervised by an outside safety director. He also withdrew from the D'Angelo engagement agreement. Camille's family kept its shipping alliance without requiring her marriage. Finally, Adrian placed Sofia's employment contract on the table and tore it in half. She owes this family no service, loyalty, or forgiveness. No one applauded. The silence was more honest. After the council left, Sofia found Adrian alone in the basement dispatch office. He had replaced neither her maps nor the cold coffee still staining the edge of her desk. "I'm not coming back to work for you," she said. "I know. And I won't accept a title that depends on your name. You shouldn't." She placed a folder between them. During her recovery, she had registered Bennett route integrity an independent firm that would inspect emergency transit systems for any family willing to submit to the same rules. Camille and Enzo Bellondi had already signed as clients. Adrian read the final page. You're offering Moretti a contract. With conditions. I control the audits. You cannot overrule a safety hold. Any threat against my staff ends the agreement. And you don't get private access to me because you're a client. He signed without changing a word. Then he looked at her, not as a don negotiating leverage, but as the man who had once wrapped a coat around her shoulders and failed to understand what trust required. I love you, he said. That does not entitle me to another chance. Sofia's throat tightened. No, it doesn't. She left him there. 3 months passed before she agreed to dinner. 2 more before she let him kiss her. Adrian never asked her to return to the estate. He came to her office, waited when she was busy, and accepted every no without turning it into punishment. On the first anniversary of the failed engagement gala, Sofia stood beside him before a new wall map shared by all 6 harbor families. Green routes crossed former enemy territory. No road belonged to one man anymore. Adrian held out the silver route key. Sofia did not put it around her neck. She hung it from the center of the map, where either of them could reach it. Dinner? He asked. She took his hand because she wanted to, not because she needed his protection. Only if you let me choose the route. Adrian smiled. Always.